Hey, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. In today's video, I want to talk to you about Honor versus Madness. Now, this is a collectible NFT game that's launching very soon that is looking to do a private sale. Now, I want to cover a bit about what this looks like, and then we've got a special guest here who will likely give us a bit more details to help you make a decision whether or not you should be getting into this or you should fade it. Now, at the end of the day, remember, I'm just a guy on YouTube. Any idiot can turn on a camera, so please do your own research. None of this is financial advice. It's only for entertainment purposes only. And if you want extra coaching, guidance, and support, check out the Web3 Secret Society. We've got about 250 members who found value in it for airdrops, building their bags in crypto, making sure they learn what they're doing, and much more. Also, make sure you follow me on social. Check me out, the Brown Gent at the bank. Also, check me out on Twitter. The links to all that stuff is in the description below. Now, many of you probably remember I've talked about this in the past. I spent about 10 years of my life playing pro competitive Magic. So for me, this whole idea of collectible card games and the intersectionality between that and what can be offered in the crypto space is massive. So what I want to know is when we see these projects, whether it's DeFi Kingdoms or other projects such as Honor versus Madness, how do we see this playing out long term? Because there are very many aspects to it, and we're going to go through that in today's video. Now, if you want to check this out at the end of the day, I put the links to all of this in the description. There is a waitlist you can join. They're doing a whitelist until August 9th, so definitely check it out. That being said, their token generation event is in October, but it's definitely another sort of ecosystem with NFTs, with tokens. You can choose your alliance, whether you're in the Wizarding Society or in the Shadow Realm. Reminds me a lot of sort of Yu-Gi-Oh! The idea here, obviously, is we don't want just another pump and dump project. We're really looking for something that has long-term value, because otherwise, we could just invest in meme coins, and there are a plethora of that. Now, if you're interested in checking out the roadmap, once again, they're available on the website. We're at the portion of time around the private sale, but then they're going to do some other things around vertical slice development, making sure they're marketing, and then the development stage of the actual game. Now, if you're interested, also make sure you follow them out on Twitter, and shout out to my boy Bartertown Conglomerate, who definitely brought this project to my attention. Now, there is another piece that you may want to read about, which is on their Medium, which is sort of their Grim Gold, which is the private sale I was referring to. We're probably going to talk about that later in this video, but just so you have it, once again, the links are here, as well as their white paper. So all of that is out here, but without further ado, we've been waiting quite a bit of time, and we definitely want to introduce our guest, AJ. AJ, welcome. How are you doing?
Good, Jen. Glad to be here, man. We put this together last minute, but I'm so honored, pun intended, to be here, man. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a great reminder. So Barter actually brought this up when I was shopping. So for many of you who aren't aware, I'm actually very close to going on a quick trip to Europe for about a few weeks for a friend's wedding. And he sent this to me, said, hey, you know what? I know you used to be very much into like the pro Magic scene. Is this something that you think you'd be interested in? And I said, hey, like I would love to, but I would first want to talk to somebody on their team. So we got AJ here as the co-founder. And, maybe with that, how about you just share with us a bit about your background in crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Jen, I've actually been in crypto for 10 years, which is insane when you say that out loud. And shout out to Buttertown as well. Ray and I go way back as well. He was one of the first groups that I was ever involved in. So again, about 10 years ago, I started out just like all of you. I was an investor in different projects. I got rugged left and right and learned, how to play the field, so to speak. But all the while, I was really interested in crypto, and really, I truly feel that crypto is the great equalizer. You may be able to notice or not, but I'm actually in a wheelchair as well. So I've always used computer technology and to be independent. And so crypto gave me that in terms of financial freedom as well. And so I went down the rabbit hole. I made a bunch of connections. I started working with developers that were here for the right reasons that I could trust. And so about 2.5 years ago, we launched our first protocol called EMP Money. And this Universe Madness is being brought to you under the EMP franchise. So it is a DeFi protocol on Binance Smart Chain. At one point, we had 50 million in TVL over on at the heyday of that project. But we have never given up. I mean, obviously, some of our projects have done better than others, but we have never fully abandoned anything that we have built. And Universe Madness is the next step in that journey. So I also have amazing background in crypto specific gaming as well. So a lot of you may have heard of the game Splinterlands. They are again a very similar style TGC trading card game on Hive Network, and I was one of the very first players. I ended up buying a full Alpha Gold Foil pack or set rather for about $10,000, and in the last bull run, those cards were worth over $1 million. So it's amazing to be able to actually own your assets, and we'll talk a lot about how that plays into Universe Madness. But we've also learned a lot from, Splinterlands, Gods Unchained, DeFi Kingdoms, all of these play to earn games that really have not been able to, reach the potential that we all think they could. And we'll talk all about how that makes us different with Universe Madness.
Exactly. And you know what? Like I do want to say, like, a lot of projects come out and I think all the teams have sort of good intentions, but the challenge is this is a very attention driven economy, right? I think about the attention span. So even like during my work when we do presentations, everyone now refers to this sort of TikTok culture where like we have we have attention spans that are less than goldfish at this point. So how do you ensure that we keep top of mind is so important, and how do you make sure that like everybody cares about it? So maybe, when I bring that up, maybe you can start with a quick elevator pitch for your game. What's your game
Totally.
about and how does it differentiate itself?
Yeah, I love this. So, and I have a surprisingly simple answer for that. But let's start with the elevator pitch. So, this is your typical strategic card game. We are going to actually build this game for a more broad gaming audience. So that is the number one thing that makes us different, rather than really focusing on the play to earn side, where the only reason crypto games are have been popular is because you can earn from them. Well, we're flipping that idea on its head and really going back to the roots, and that is building a fun game first. And I think that is a super simple answer to a very complex question. Where as long as you build a fun to play game that really delivers on entertainment value, and that and an engaging experience that you want to keep playing, that is more than half the battle in terms of success. So it is there will be crypto elements. We will have again a token which we're doing the private sale for now. We'll have staking for that token on day one that will give you a revenue share of what the game produces. But at its core, it is again a strategic card game where it's built more for Web 2 audiences, but then you're able to actually take self custody of your NFTs if you choose to do so. So we're not forcing you to learn how to manage a wallet address and buy NFTs and be a crypto expert, but we're giving you the tools to learn that along the way.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense, but you mentioned some examples, right? Splinterlands, DeFi Kingdoms, other Web3 games. There's
for
a lot
sure.
of people who are competing for this market share, right? So when we think about share of voice, how do you attend, and especially in this attention-driven economy, to sort of capture that mind share? And how do you keep them from example, like, hey, I got some money, I got some time. I would rather sort of go and flip, I don't know, Nero, which is one of the latest meme coins, or whatever else is out there, because there's so many things to do in crypto, right? The beauty about crypto is exactly what you said, freedom, right? Freedom and the ability to sort of be the game changer, right? People are looking to this to create incredible wealth. I know something you just mentioned is, you're looking to capitalize more on the web 2 aspects of it, right? Web 2 gaming, how that have gone, like tabletop or whatever. How do you intend to have that hook? So you say, okay, great, well, this is my sort of target consumer, and they're the ones who will be interested. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, 100%. So again, in terms of market share, this is a bit of uncharted territory where we're doing things a bit in reverse. So rather than going and directly marketing to the crypto audience, we're actually again focusing on a more mainstream distribution and having the crypto element be a bit secondary, which again that might be a little controversial, but in the long run, it makes the economics way, way more healthy. So rather than having again the play to earn aspect of extracting value, we're able to build a very healthy secondary market for the NFTs and the crypto side investors because they're not the target audience is not one and the same. We have different target audiences depending on what they want to do within the ecosystem. So that approach is not like a one size fits all approach. And so first and foremost, like I said, we build a game that is fun and engaging, and then working with the AAA studio, we are under contract. We'll be announcing who it is next week, but they already have distribution through Steam and a lot of these platforms that we see for traditional gaming. And so by not building the game ourselves and working with a proven studio, that will also get the eyeballs and attention that we want, especially in the beginning. And then it's up to us to capitalize on other things that I don't think traditional crypto games of this genre have done, and those are esports. Again, to your background, we absolutely want to be able to promote Twitch streaming and competitive play, whether it's sponsored tournaments, a lot of things that again I think other Web3 games have not done well. We'll be able to capitalize on. So those are some examples. I'm happy to go into more depth if you have some other avenues. But yeah, that's the immediate plan.
Yeah, so like from basically what it sounds like, I get that you have different population, right? And like you have different target customers, right? If you sort of segment out your customers out. But for example, if I think about sort of your Web2 competition, it would be the existing TCGs that exist, right? So Lorcana just sort of came out. I've been hearing a lot about that. Flesh and Blood is another one. And I know all these things because I have friends who are super into the weeds of these very competitive TCGs or whatever. And then we have Magic the Gathering, right? Which has pretty much destroyed their own competitive scene, but there's still a lot of people play. I mean, I played this weekend at the pre-release. So that's Web2, or sort of, the previous TCGs. Newer TCGs are much more around assets. And maybe I'll ask my next question as part of this. Typically, what will happen, right, is you generate excitement behind this sort of new project or a new ecosystem during a bull market because you are launching a token and you're launching NFTs, both of which seem to like attract the same individual, the individual who will buy in early, flip it right away, look to get a 5x, 10x, or whatever. And what ends up happening is the value of these assets post-launch, you get the initial pump, and they just look at that curve that everyone's familiar with, right? Like that up and then sort of the parabolic or asymptotic, I should say, sort of drop. Now, how do you figure that you can avoid this, right? Because typically what will end up happening is if you're not early, then it's actually a prohibitive to enter late because you'll be used as exit liquidity. How will you get away from this? And how will you create the demand so that that does not happen, right? Typically, what happens is it's a demand lack, not a supply lack. It's a demand lack that causes this. So how will you do that? And how do you intend for your assets to hold the value so people will actually say, hey, I got this NFT on the secondary market, or I got this the gold on the, either through the private sale or you bought it after. How can you make this a attractive proposition to hold?
Yep, no doubt. So I love this. I love it because we have spent so much time, in pre-development addressing all the potential downfalls. So there's a lot of things that answer this. So I'll try to remember to get to all of them. But number one is really just the way that we've structured this, whitelist sale to begin with. Typically, with games like this, you are beholden to VCs, where there are a lot of big whales or venture capitalists or whatever the case may be, KOLs that buy the token at a discount and then pump their own bags. There's so many behind the scenes deals that nobody really even knows about. And what happens is, as soon as TGE happens, those people are already, even if there is vesting, those people are already in, 5, 10x a profit on day one. And so obviously they, want to dump as soon as they can to realize their gains. They don't care about the longevity of the project. So that is one of the major reasons why we didn't go that route. And we are doing, more of a grassroots effort on raising the initial funds. And we're not really giving a lot, like a huge discount. You are getting about a 10% discount, and you're avoiding the potential fees because there will be some buy and sell taxes on the token itself. We've done that instead of a vesting schedule. So that is, again, another reason. Thirdly, we have the DeFi experience that very many other gaming projects do not have. So they're able to raise a bunch of money in the beginning. They spend all that money on development, and now they have no more resources to support the ecosystem, the token price, future development. They have to buy. They have to sell more NFTs, which dilutes the secondary market. They have to dump their own token on the community to pay for things. We're not doing any of that. We are using the money that we raise to employ a very strategic earning treasury yield as well. So the whole goal is that going into the bull run, we're able to set ourselves up to pay for things and support the token price without ever having to dilute the overall economy, which again, no other game project has that active management of the resources. So that is, again, another thing that sets us apart. And last but not least, we are also implementing staking on day one. So there will be a way to stake your token and earn the yield from the protocol itself. So no hyperinflation, no Ponzonomics, nothing that we've seen in these other platforms that just dilute everybody to hell. We're giving actual utility for the token on day one by being able to lock it up. And the more people that lock that up, the less potential selling pressure there is. So, and then again, just to talk about marketing, it's obviously so that the running joke is when marketing. We haven't even deployed half of the marketing resources until we're ready, and so this is a grassroots effort. And we're getting as much money as we can, but we're only selling about 10% of the overall supply. So that being said, when we do go live with the TGE, we have to have a lot of buying pressure, and we will, because we'll have people that did maybe miss the whitelist and early access still wanting to get involved and play the game. And our timing is in my opinion perfect, because we usually start seeing the bull run really start in October anyway. And with the market heating up, the TGE, and the hype around Halloween, that narrative alone is powerful. I think that we'll really do well after the token goes live.
Okay, so I got a couple questions to sort of what you said. So I like what I heard. Couple things. So
Perfect.
I'm sort of seeing someone in the chat talking about what happened with the last whitelist. Maybe I can ask some clarity around a bit of this, which is, so you mentioned there will be vesting. Can you go into details on what that looks like, and also how do you tackle the fact that I'll give you an example, right? So many people who are in my community, they invested in a token called Celestia. Now, Celestia has some investing that will happen in October, where in fact, I believe the token supply will effectively double in circulating supply. So what's happening? Everyone's looking to dump ahead of time. So once again, you get a situation what you don't want, even though it's not a, you're solving the vesting issue by saying, hey, like, let's make sure people can't dump. In this case, Celestia did that with their VCs. But now people are aware of this because the average crypto person is, getting smarter and smarter, which is what we want, right? Like more normies and people who are in this space are getting smarter. But that now means people will start playing a couple steps ahead. So even if the VCs or your people who are in your whitelist won't dump when this happens, how do you prevent people from seeing this and going, well, we don't know if they won't, so we're just going to preemptively dump right before the unlock happens? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, and that was something I want to clarify. I may have misspoke, but we are not having vesting. So
Oh,
there is no vesting at all. What we're doing instead is a tax. So again, this tax will eventually be removable as well. Honestly, and those that know me, I've been not very supportive of tax-based tokens because I think a lot of times, projects will use the taxes as revenue, and that is not revenue. Taxes are not revenue because you still have to dump the token. And so I've been very critical on that. But we're using the taxes to again, help curb the urge to dump. Too early per se. So the fact that we're launching very close, the launch price to what the whitelist is. Obviously, you're saving the fees or the taxes as well. That again, I think will eliminate that initial pump and dump because nobody, unless they just sell at a loss, nobody is going to want to do that. And furthermore, um, it's not inflationary. So a lot of these other tokens, even if they have a fixed supply, as you said, through their vesting, that means more and more tokens are released into the ecosystem over time. With us, we won't do it that way. Again, whatever the initial LP is, will be people will have to buy the token. And if we end up giving rewards down the road as tokens, we'll have a very specific strategy where we actually burn just as much of those tokens as we are emitting, as rewards. So again, an example of that would be, if we do a special, card pack, or new skin, or a theme around the holiday, you will only be able to buy it with, that particular NFT, with the in-game currency, and then it will be burned. So again, we're not selling it back and dumping it on the community, which a lot of these other tokens are doing.
so it's deflationary from that standpoint, right? So
Exactly, 100%. Yes.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. And maybe I can ask sort of a follow-up question. You mentioned strategies on how to, succeed in the bull market, which is, I'd say for the most part, somewhat easy. One of the things I will say is, how do you plan when the bear market comes, right? Like, let's be honest here, 2025, end of 2025 is likely when that's going to happen. How do you ensure that you have the runway to continue then, especially when people will be hurting, right? No matter how much we talk about the bear market now, in 6 months, people will be telling me I'm an idiot. There's no bear market coming. It's changed. The ETFs are here. We're never gonna go down. But we know the reality, right? What goes up must come down. I think long-term crypto is, sort of that straight line going this way or like that. So you can see it going up. But what do you do there? And how do you protect yourself? And I'll give you an example. Maybe I want to hear what your thoughts are. DeFi Kingdoms did not sell a single jewel even when they hit $20. They went all the way down to $1. maybe 50 cents, and then said, hey, we're now going to start selling Jewel into USDC and hold it in our treasury as our sort of roadmap, which kind of didn't make any sense because when I think about and like I said, they could have known what could have happened. They could have known the success. But I think back to some of the best CEOs I've seen in companies where when the company's doing really well, they buy back stock, right? And then when it's not, they dilute when they see the stock price is way too high. They issued the shares then to ensure that there wasn't this insane euphoria, but they had the capital to have the runway. What is your plan for the bear market? How do you plan on Honor versus Madness being around in 2026?
Yeah, brother. Again, Trent, we're gonna be best friends after this, man. The fact that you are even talking about that shows me that you get it, and it's a rarity in the space, obviously. With what we see, these other protocols that don't succeed. But yeah, I mean, that is all. Everything you just said is part of our strategy. So the money that we raise now, again, we are doing the private sale in stables, but that will be strategically converted into blue chips, and we have an extensive knowledge of yield farming and concentrated liquidity providing. All we're DeFi veterans, and the goal is that through the next few months, we're able to potentially triple or more the actual reserves that the Treasury has, and then at that point we are able to convert into more stables or a lot less risk off items to be able to carry us through. And that doesn't include any sales whatsoever. So this is all prior to the game going live and being able to generate sales. And that again is something that is very different than many other protocols. So we have a very specific plan. First of all, to build the treasury, then to go risk off when we feel like the bull run is ending, and then that is when we don't really have to hit the bull run, because honestly, the game development is probably going to be about 8 months anyway, before the alpha is ready, and by then we could be past the bull run. But then we rely on the fiat gateway of people buying into the game. It will most likely be free to play to begin with, and so we're relying on users buying cards, buying skins, buying different emotes, different pets. I mean, we have a whole list in the white paper of the microtransactions that we'll be offering. And again, marketing to more of a Web2 audience, it doesn't really matter what the bull or bear cycles are. We just need to be able to market a really fun game. And then that fiat supports the crypto side, through the token price.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. Um, Maybe I can ask one last question before we get into the actual game. But
For sure.
if you think about your private sale, what percentage of tokens was that? 10%? Did I hear? How much is it?
Yeah, so the initial tokenomics, and again, we'll release this before people start actually contributing. Right now, the whitelist is just gauging, appetite, so to speak. But the plan right now is a maximum supply of 1 billion, and we'll be selling roughly 10%.
Okay, and the other 90%, do you have a rough idea of what the plans are? And will you be providing transparency on the wallet addresses for where they're held by the team, etc.?
100%. So, I mean, we're working through the team allocation now, but I can assure you, it will be 15% or less. And really, a lot of what we're doing is in regards of burning the token. So again, we'll have strategic things in place to, as we meet different milestones, we burn more, we burn more, we burn more. We'll also have a lot more liquidity than most tokens. As you know, liquidity is really important, based on people that want to get in. If liquidity is too low, then you get massive price impact trying to buy, and if liquidity is too high, you have a lot of capital that's not being utilized properly. So we're hoping to launch around 3 to 400K of liquidity, and then manage it accordingly as we grow. But that alone puts our fully our FDV, fully diluted value, maybe around 8 million on launch, which is super low for GameFi tokens. And yeah, I mean, we will absolutely be transparent with all of that. I mean, we have been in our previous protocols. I'm fully doxed as well, which is rare. I mean, we're all about being as transparent as possible.
That's good. I appreciate it. And last question on the token. You mentioned you can stake it for part of a revenue sharing, I think earlier. Is there any other function for the token? Is there a bit of governance? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have a whole Medium article on this as well as we get closer to TGE. But yeah, all of the above. So obviously, the main utility will be staking it for a part of the rev share of the ecosystem. But also, we have some really unique ideas as well. So not only would there be potentially a governance model or early access again for all the expansions that we put out. Maybe you have to have a minimum staked amount to be able to access that, or even being able to stake your assets for in-game items. So again, whether it's skins or something that isn't pay to win, we want to avoid that as much as possible, as well as power creep. But the whole idea is that you get really cool items within the game, even for staking as well. And the cool part about that is you're able to sell those items on the secondary market and actually realize gains without ever having to sell the token itself. So that is really healthy for the economics.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about the game. And before I get into it, how familiar are you with Magic the Gathering? And have you seen Magic Arena, in fact?
Yeah, so I'm not definitely not the caliber you are, but yeah, I'm familiar with Magic and Hearthstone, Glint, Gods Unchained, Splinterlands. I mean, I admittedly, I mean, obviously it's a collaborative effort. My other partner, the other co-founder, Julius, this is more of he's definitely a lot better on the actual game mechanics, but I'll do my best to help explain for sure. Yeah.
No, that's cool. No, because the reason I ask is so like this is, for example, Magic the Gathering Arena. I played this
Totally.
game, and I'm a busy person, and I'm sure all of you are, and a lot of people are. But having a game that has a hook that isn't play to win is super important. I think that mechanism you mentioned is good, but I think Magic Arena has really found a really good model in which you you sort of put money in to sort of buy certain things, but you have to earn them within the game. You can't just sort of, hey, I'm going to show up with $10,000 and just handpick these following things, and that's it. Now, obviously, they don't have NFTs, so there's no Web3 integration. I'm sure like there will be an aspect to sort of the trading piece. I know you have limits on the types of cards you can have. I forget the highest rarity class, but there's only one allowed in your deck, I remember. And I think you can have 2 copies of every other card when I was reading through the white paper. Maybe I can get through to the next question I have, which is around the sort of updates. So typically, I've seen some games launch, and I think you mentioned this earlier. Some projects will say, okay, you know what? We've got to make a great first impression. So we'll set things up. They get people involved. They get the first barrier, which is getting them in the door. But then retaining them is super hard. How will you do that? Because will you have development and will you have extra like new card sets coming out? Will you have expansions? How do you see this going? Like, will there be different tournament series? How do you keep people who have already entered your ecosystem dynamically engaged, right? Because if we look at metrics for social media, if you want to go viral, the platforms always look and see who's keeping people on the platform the longest. How do you intend to do that with your game?
Yeah, no, I love it, bro. So, and this honestly, obviously, is one of the biggest hurdles that we have, but we feel like we're poised to really capitalize. And we've seen, again, I said it earlier, but we've seen what other protocols have done wrong, and we are excited to not do that moving forward. So, and again, to give some concrete examples, a lot of these NFT based games, they do these. Pack releases, but they do pack releases in a very uncontrolled manner. And honestly, it dilutes the entire ecosystem. So they kill the secondary market value, which is a snowball effect because now people that aren't really interested in playing the game but still want to support the game, they are now handcuffed because all the assets are worth shit. So we that would be the first thing is that with our expansions, we do want to have regular expansions. This is not a set it and forget it model. We're looking at either every 3 months or every 6 months. We'll be releasing new cards, but these packs will be very, very specific because we don't want to. Number one, we don't want to. Again, which I'm sure we'll talk about, we don't want to introduce power creep where you're always having to buy the next best expansion to be competitive. We want to have a nice mix of new cards that people just want to play because they're cool, and it really boils down to the meta of different combos. Where you may have to have an older card from a previous deck. To be able to compete competitively. And again, that is super healthy for the secondary market because the only way to get that card would be to buy it from somebody else. So, and again, that transfers value to the player, not the company, and keeps everything. It keeps people engaged. So, from an economic side, that is the plan, and then from a marketing side, again, I absolutely want to do sponsored tournaments. Even if we're able to like offer, tournaments that aren't even part of our ecosystem, meaning, maybe, there's a new DeFi protocol that wants some exposure. We're able to let them sponsor a tournament, give awesome prizes that we don't have to pay for as a company. And that is a win-win for everybody because we don't have to spend the money, and number two, our community is earning from that. So that's again another example. And then last but not least, I think the whole streaming approach is really really powerful. And we already have some great contacts with professional streamers that have done work with other games in this genre. And that is also part of our game studio. They have those relationships already built through the distribution to be able to get Twitch streamers and esports enthusiasts excited about the game from the very beginning.
Sounds great. And you know what? Like, I'm glad you answered that question on power creep because it's definitely like there are challenges I even see in the traditional TCGs. Yu-Gi-Oh has an issue you mentioned, which is they just reprinted out of every. I used to own, like, I don't know if you're aware of Exodia, right? The forbidden one. You own those pieces. Back when I was a kid, they were like $100 a pop. Now they're not even worth the paper they're printed on because they just reprinted them in like sort of all the other sets. Yes, you can get the rare ones, but you don't really need them, right, to play. And then
Totally.
Magic has the reserve list to prevent this from happening. So I have like dual lands and Power 9, which will still hold 5 figures of value. The Power 9 will hold 5 figures of value, 4 figures of value, because they can't reprint them. And it gives a confidence to the consumer that this will never happen again, right? They won't print those things. But then I think of Flesh and Blood, and I think they do a bit of what you said. One of my buddies actually made the Pro Tour top 8 like a few days ago. And in these events, they actually give you exclusive cards. So sort of like what you were saying, like you can earn an NFT or a card that everyone wants, but you had to be a champion. Now that person can sell it in the secondary market, pick their price and whatever, but you now have another sort of angle where you're not just diluting the game by just adding new packs and like people can just come in and buy them. It's sort of like that Yu-Gi-Oh game where like, there was like 4 blue eyes in existence, right? So like however you guys decided to determine it, like, the world's your oyster. Now,
Yeah, and that's the power of the blockchain integration. I mean, again, in that example of Yu-Gi-Oh, because the NFTs will be on chain, we are not able to print more, which and that is all verifiable. I mean, again, not even to mention, fakes or,
right.
counterfeits. I mean, that is why this sort of genre lends itself so well to the crypto side, as long as you're doing it the right way, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Now, question I did want to ask, and the reason I wanted to ask about the governance for the token, I have been part of projects in the past. I can think of one notorious one in the Cosmos ecosystem where they brought into question the idea of decentralization when they tried to sort of fix something by sort of being heavy handed. Now, I'm part of these card games, and I see all the time that not that people do this maliciously, but mistakes happen, right? You create a card, sometimes you overlook the interaction with something else that creates an environment where nothing else is viable. You can't play anything else. In current point example, in Magic, if you play Modern, there's a card called Nadu, which literally should get the ban the next week or so. It's like every tournament, everyone who's winning is playing that card, 4x. Now, how do you do that in a crypto game where you have people who own that NFT, and now all of a sudden that mistake or that sort of oversight can make them lose the NFT? How do you solve for that without having a huge sort of blow up? How do you foresee this? Right? Obviously, you're going to try to avoid this, but when you develop and you create cards, and the more cards you create, the more these interactions, could happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. So, and I think that is again, I'm not gonna come on here and say, that that will never happen because it very well could. No matter what kind of due diligence we do, I think that at that point we have to make a decision of, pissing off a few of the owners, and or having the game potentially be broken. And
Right.
I think that you have to balance that. Obviously, I think that there are ways of essentially mitigating that risk. Like, in other words, if a card is, blacklisted or whatever, then we give some sort of other, airdrop of a new card, or, like there's a way to make it right with the community. And obviously we would work at that for sure. But I think, moreover, it's also about not making the game too complex. So I think that that is another thing that, a lot of these style of games have gone a bit overboard. Again, I think that if you don't know, if there's not a good player experience, and you have to have a PhD to know how the cards work. That is probably too far in the complexity direction. But obviously, we want to make it to where there is some meta. You have to be able to use your brain. Like you're a good poker player. You have to learn how to play the cards to win. And so for us, it's going to be a very, very delicate balance of making things a little more simplified than what you might be used to, in really hardcore TCGs, but still making it very competitive and very fun. And I think, Hearthstone did a really good job at that. I think, we would definitely model a lot of competitive play around that for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. You know what you said about the airdrop potential, that makes a lot of sense. And one avenue you have, because you're on the blockchain, right? I think one of the things that's beauty about this is you can also just change what the card does. You can change like the cost, the wording, whatever. Whereas they couldn't go into my house and start taking a Sharpie and changing the stuff, right? So definitely that
Exactly.
huge dynamic exists there. You mentioned
Yeah.
something about onboarding, which I think is very important. I went to 3XP last year and I sat down, it was like the Avalanche community had a bunch of games that were launching. I sat in their card games, and I used to play professional Magic, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my god, this game is so complicated. I have no idea what's going on. Like the graphics are great, but I just remember like being sort of, they throw everything on you at once, and if you have too much complexity and you have a steep learning curve, you can also hinder that sort of onboarding. How do you plan to help onboard these new players? Like, so somebody sees the game, they're interested. Like, have you taken any principles like, show don't tell from like Mario and others? Have you seen what Magic has done? Look, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, absolutely, Jen. So again, in the beginning, and I think the approach that we're going to go for, which again, a lot of this, what I say today, please bear in mind that we are still, under development right now, and that things may change
Of course.
as we go. But yeah, the overall vision is, again, and you may notice this from other card games, or even games in general, where we actually have more of a single player type experience on getting people to learn the mechanics of the game. So rather than jumping right in into competitive play, we have almost like a mini game that is an onboarding experience that gets people familiar with all the mechanics. And I think that has done really well in terms of games I like to play. And so that again is the goal right now. Now that may also change when we get ready to launch, but that is what we're building for sure.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, I love these kind of games. I would love to actually see what that looks like before you launch, because maybe I can give you some input as to like, because I've onboarded hundreds of players into Magic, and like one of the things that I was telling this to Ray earlier today was when you're first learning Magic, and there are so many keywords, right? That's because it's a very complex game. But if you start with just vanilla cards and have them play with that, and then slowly introduce these exceptions. Oh, this thing is flying. Okay, well, I can't block this one now. Or, oh my god, this came into play, but I can attack. Wait, why is that? But they've but first you set the scene of, okay, let's everybody's average. Now the people with random abilities and stuff come up. Then it becomes so much easier than just going, oh well, you have all these different options and whatever. But yeah, no, very interested, and definitely
Yeah,
interesting.
no, and I would
Um,
love your feedback, and that brings up another point. Through the whitelist, actually, the first 500 contributors, no matter what level they contribute at, they will get an alpha access key, and we will also be giving some of these away as we build the community. And the whole point of those alpha access keys, that really is our version of governance in a way where those holders will be able to play the game first and give direct feedback on everything that we do, as well as potential expansions. Being the first to play one of the new cards, even in a test environment. I mean, that is something that's worked really well for Splinterlands and some of the other games. So we absolutely want to do that, and we love the feedback. I mean, again, what better way to build the game than from the feedback of the people that are playing the game? It's a no-brainer for sure.
Perfect. And maybe like, just because I want to give you some time to talk a bit about, if people are interested, what they can do, sort of next steps. I'll ask you one last question. In terms of sort of the team capacity, right? So I think you mentioned there are 4 people working on the game right now. What will that look like in the future? And will there be like a development roadmap for them to look into? How can people get in touch with you guys if they wanted to know more? Is there like a Discord? I did put up your Twitter earlier, which is also linked in the description. Well, what does all that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, remember that this is like the early access opportunity, and because of that, a lot of our socials do look small. But that is because we are rolling out a grassroots effort. And in terms of the team, yeah, there are a total of 4 team members that are managing the day to day. But we have hired an actual gaming studio out of Thailand, and again, next week we'll have a studio tour video. We'll release who the studio is. Again, they've worked on other distributed games, and that alone, I think. Again, I don't have exact numbers, but at least 25 to 30 people working on the actual game development side. And then we also have our crypto development side. So with EMP and everything that we build, we have bridges and vaults. We build a lot of infrastructure for DeFi overall on BSC and Spark on Pulse Chain. We have another DEX on Manta Network. All the crypto side is yet another development team. So we have a massive overall team behind us that can work together to pull it off. And that's another thing that's really different is we're not just a crypto project that wants to release a game because it fits, the overall narrative. We're a crypto project releasing a game that we have been working on and wanting to build and have the actual resources to build it, from day one. So I just want to make that clear as well. And yeah, we have a Discord, we have a Telegram. We'll be giving, that's another really cool thing. We'll be bringing all of you along with us while we build the game. I mean, again, Illuvium is a great example. They have $1 billion market cap with literally a trailer. No gameplay, no development schedule, no nothing. And we'll be able to bring you along the way, in full transparency as we're building this out and getting closer and closer to launch.
Cool. All right. So, one of the things that AJ is going to do is he's going to get me sort of a category in the whitelist spot because I'm definitely interested in being part of this.
For sure, bro.
Um, so that link will be in the description. But if people are interested, you want to tell them a bit about the process and sort of what those next steps look like. I brought up on screen the whitelist private sale, which is tokens are available for a penny. Private sale date August 9th. You want to talk a bit about like what they'll need, where they need to have the funds, etc.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. So, and again, in full disclosure, Gent was amazing in wanting to vet this before being added. So, shout out to you, man. That's very rare in the space. Everybody, wants a money grab, but you are a legitimate, guy out there really giving great info. So, yeah, we will,
Sure.
again, with your permission, now that we've had an interview and you know who I am, we'll add you to the communities of eligible whitelist. And what you would do is at the bottom of the form, you fill it out and you would just select, black giant under it and go from there. So, but yeah, the whole deal is it's a whitelist. So you're not guaranteed to get allocation. Where you do have to sign up first, and then we will be in touch about your exact, contribution amount. So there's different ranges, but please be honest with what you would want to put up for this. And then we will confirm that with you. We will whitelist your wallet address, and then you will be able to buy on August 9th with stables. So USDC or USDT on BNB chain, Ethereum mainnet, Arbitrum, or Base. Um, and we'll have a countdown timer and a pre-sale page that we'll be releasing later next week, so that all of you can be ready and know when to get involved. Again, it's for the Grim Gold token. The call sign will be GG, which is also a little node to good game in these sort of games. I think that will be a cool little tie-in. And it's 1 cent. Again, no tax, so you're getting a 10% discount on TGE, and the maximum wallet per wallet contribution is 10,000. You are able to submit under multiple wallets, but please understand that if we fill out, you may not be able to get that allocation twice. So.
Awesome. No, that's good to know. And is there a sort of time limit on August 9th? Like, is it a few hours? I only asked this because I plan on being like, I looked at my itinerary. I'm in fact in Paros, Greece. We're ATVing and on a boat. So I don't know if I'll
Yeah,
have
man.
someone from me, but.
Yeah, so we are again, that's why we're doing it through a private whitelist. We're hoping that we are able to, honor, if you are approved for the whitelist, that you will get that allocation. But understand, that there will be probably at least 10 or 20% over subscribers.
Okay.
So if you're not able to do it within the first few hours, you do run the risk of not getting in, but we hope that we can sell it out within the first 24 hours for sure. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, there is some FOMO, but as long as you are able to get in on the whitelist, you should be okay.
All right, cool. That just tells me I got to give you the hot wallet just in case.
Yes, yeah, totally.
All right,
So
cool.
yeah, and again, we'll be in touch. Don't respond to any scammers. But if you go look on the Google form, my team member LA, her exact username on Discord and Telegram, she will confirm with you the allocation. And she'll never ask for money or to connect to another website or anything like that. So don't get scammed. And the token will not go live earlier. Then it will be in October, probably the first week of October, so that we can build on the hype of Halloween as well.
Yeah, I just want to bring this up just so people were asking. So this is sort of what that form will
Perfect.
look like. So yeah, Do not respond to scammers. This is what's gonna happen. You're gonna get DM'd by CryptoBabe1111 on
Yep.
Telegram. And if you're not sure, just reach out to me just in case, because you never know. People are getting crafty. I'm sure there's a way to hide it or fish it or something like that. You never know. They're getting smarter. Let's just be
Yeah,
honest.
no doubt.
So
Well, at
always
the
be
end of the
careful.
day, yeah, like I said, don't we'll never ask for money. We'll never ask you to connect to a website. It'll simply just be confirming your allocation and that you submitted to the white list for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, AJ, thank you so much for everything. Thank you so much for willing to come on. I know you're traveling as well, so I hope you have a great trip.
Thank you,
Uh,
brother.
we'll be
Yeah,
in touch.
man. Yeah, no, this was amazing. Again, I'm really glad that we were able to connect. Shout out to Bartertown for making it happen, and I love your mindset on all this, brother. And I'm happy to do a follow up AMA, and we'll get you added to the list, hopefully within the next few hours. So make sure you sign up under Brown Jet for sure.
100%. And I think I saw Crypto Baby or Crypto Babe said that I have been added. So thank you for that. Once again, guys, remember at the end of the day, your decision whether or not you want to get in on this. Everything in crypto comes with some sort of risk. Even like staking with EigenLayer comes with some sort of risk, right? There is always
Totally.
that opportunity, is always that chance. So remember, if you choose to get in on this and you choose to sort of aim to either get in early, you're looking for a quick flip, or you're looking to be part of this game, your decision. No one's putting a gun to your head. Make that decision yourself based on what you've heard me ask. As for myself, I feel very confident in this only because of sort of what I've heard. That being said, I also will be doing a bit more research, but it looks very good, and I'm always down to support a sort of Web3 game that will finally bring like sort of my version or what I wanted to see with Magic in the Web3 space, which is I see a lot of this in there. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys develop and all of that. So thanks again for coming on. And guys, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, share the video if you haven't already as well, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.